In fact, Xiang was not the only one who noticed the notification in the live broadcast room. Many of the audience also noticed it. Click here F*CK, am I seeing things? I actually saw the appearance of Workslayer. Unique Workslayer has finally appeared. Words said in the wind, I love him. Song Worky Slayer, is he famous? Why are there so many people flooding the screen? Fahai doesn't understand love, the person above seems to be a newcomer, he doesn't even know Workslayer. Yu Heideng, do you guys have to be so excited? 1, 2, 3 wooden figures, Workslayer is superior, let's welcome Workslayer. Love you, Workslayer is superior, let's welcome Workslayer. Mother of Asterisk Seeker, Workslayer is superior, let's welcome Workslayer. Even though Lin Fan had not come to the live streaming room for a long time, there were always legends about him being spread. Lin Fan rubbed his nose and tapped on the tip. 1, 10, 100, 500. In just the blink of an eye, the entire live broadcast room was filled with dense rockets. Little treasure rocket, so many rockets, heavens. Early, Workslayer is starting to tip again. Zhang Xiaoguang, who was the one who questioned who he was just now, tell me now. Duju's Falcon, Workslayer, you're awesome. Begu Laughter, awesome. Mao Jixin, awesome. It was also at this moment that Xiang snapped back to her senses from Lin Fan's sudden appearance. She said happily, thank you, Workslayer. Workslayer, you're welcome, please sing those years for me. Lin Fan remembered that the first song he requested from Xiang was Those Years. Xiang replied, all right, all right. The music started. When Lin Fan first heard Xiang sing, he could hear the liveliness and serenity in her voice. Now there was a different kind of longing. The song ended. Workslayer, you sang very well. Hence he started to tip again. 10, 100, 300, 500. There were dense rockets again, covering the entire live broadcast room. Lamp, ah, I love you. You win, awesome. Love you forever, awesome. Silence 99999. The commotion in Xiang's live broadcast room quickly attracted the attention of the other streamers. Momo, wow, Workslayer is here. Zio AI, I'm so happy to see Workslayer again. If it were anyone else, they would not be so excited. However, they had seen Lin Fan in real life and knew how handsome he was. They also knew how terrifying his strength was. Lin Fan entered Momo's and Zio AI streams and gave them 1,000 rockets each. After all, they were friends, I think you should take a look at. Thank you, Workslayer. Thank you. Momo and Zio AI shouted excitedly. Just as Lin Fan was done tipping, a middle-aged man wearing silver-rimmed glasses looked over. He saw Lin Fan at the top of the donation list and the streamers thanking him. His eyes moved slightly. The man with silver-rimmed glasses said in a very mature tone, young man, how much did you tip this streamer? Lin Fan raised his eyes and said, 1 million. The man with silver-rimmed glasses shook his head. You gave her 1 million just to get a word of thanks. You should add her as a friend, no. Lin Fan nodded. He had indeed added these streamers as friends. The silver-rimmed glasses man revealed an expression as if he had expected it and said, she should take the initiative to chat with you and call you some sweet nicknames in a very pleasant voice, right? Just like that you tipped her 1 million. You know what, you shouldn't assume that her voice is nice and her appearance is good just from the live broadcast. Have you ever seen her in person? Maybe she's not even a woman. The silver-rimmed glasses man liked to talk to people in such an educational tone. Because if he did that, the other party would quickly lower their head and admit their mistake. He enjoyed this feeling very much. It was a feeling of being pretentious. Lin Fan said calmly, I've seen her in person. This sentence made the silver-rimmed glasses man feel as if he had punched cotton. He went limp. He could not help but clear his throat. I won't ask you where you got the money, however, you should calculate how long it would take you to earn 1 million yuan and see if you should tip that much. Lin Fan thought for a moment and said, if it's 1 million, well, we've talked for so long, so I should have earned it back. Lin Fan was not exaggerating when he said that. One had to know. Now Lin Fan owned 80% of Penguin Group and Little Tanuki Group shares. In addition, he also owned the patents for carbon-based chips and two types of super batteries. In addition, he also had dividends from other large companies. In a month, earning tens of billions was probably not a problem. They had been chatting for a minute, and he had really profited. The silver-framed man almost laughed out loud when he heard this. He was about to speak. At this moment, Lin Fan's phone vibrated. Notice from Merchant Bank, 5,218,000,000 yuan was deposited into your account. Note, Dahua Group's may profit dividends. Seeing this, the silver-rimmed glasses man's body stiffened slightly. This was a text message from the official website of Merchant Bank. It was not fake news. 5.2 billion. Dahua Group's may profit dividends. Notice from Merchant Bank, 1,200,900,000 yuan was deposited into your account. Note, Yati Group's may profit dividends. The silver-rimmed glasses man's body stiffened again. 1.2 billion. Yati Group's may profit dividends. Notice from Merchant Bank, 2,091,100,000 yuan was deposited into your account. Note, Flower Stems may profit dividends. The silver-rimmed glasses man's body froze. 2 billion. Flower Stems may profit dividends. Heavens! What was the identity of this young man in front of him? What kind of existence was he trying to show off in front of? At this moment, Lin Fan's face broke into a smile as he slowly raised his head. The silver-rimmed glasses man's face instantly turned red. To him this was pure mockery. However, the other party did have the right to mock him. Without waiting for Lin Fan to speak, the man with silver-rimmed glasses lowered his head and ran outside. Embarrassing. It was too embarrassing. However, the silver-rimmed glasses man did not know that Lin Fan didn't mean to mock him. The reason why he smiled was because a clear notification sounded in his mind. Ding, you've completed the hidden mission, have funds exceeding 100 billion yuan. You've received 5 platinum packets. Platinum packets. He had not received any for a long time. Lin Fan did not stay in Starbucks for long. He drove the Cullinan, which was parked outside, straight toward the Coiling Dragon Villa. He could not wait to open the 5 platinum packets and see what he could get. Lin Fan sat on the soft sofa and placed his attention on the platinum packets. Open them. Ding, congratulations, you've received 9 million yuan. I haven't opened a platinum packet for so long, why did I get such trash? Lin Fan pursed his lips. Ding, congratulations, you've received a double shares coupon. It's barely okay, Lin Fan mumbled. Ding, congratulations, you've received 5 million yuan. Money again, Lin Fan said helplessly. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained a 1 yuan critical hit card. Spending 1 yuan to get 100 million, it's trash again, Lin Fan said. Ding, congratulations, you've received 5 million yuan. Seeing this, Lin Fan said, it seems like my luck hasn't been too good recently. Out of 5 platinum packets, only 1 is barely passable. As he spoke, he turned his attention to the double shares coupon. Alphabet seems pretty good. Ding, congratulations, you've successfully used the double shares coupon on Alphabet Group. You now own 10% of Alphabet Group's shares. At this moment, Zhang Daming was holding a high-level meeting. A secretary with a good figure whispered into Zhang Daming's ear. In the next moment, Zhang Daming opened his eyes wide and said, "What?" He suddenly stood up, his face full of anxiety. His secretary told him, Lin Fan bought a large amount of Alphabet's shares until his shares reached 10%. 10%. At this moment, Lin Fan had already become the second largest shareholder of Alphabet. Zhang Daming was very clear about how terrifying Lin Fan's strength was. He was a terrifying existence who completely controlled Penguin Group and Little Tanuki Corporation. The other party had done such a thing, how had he offended him? Zhang Daming's mind spun for a while and soon, his thoughts fell on the streamer Heiyan who had been banned not long ago. Could it be that Lin Fan felt that he had not tried his best to punish her? Was he warning him? That was right. That must be the case. When Zhang Daming thought of this, he said in a hurry, increase the traffic of those who criticize the streamer Heian. Although the secretary did not know why the chairman suddenly made such a decision, she responded hurriedly, yes. Poor Li Heian once again rushed to the trending list. No matter where she went, she would become the object of ridicule. Lin Fan did not care about any of this at all. Just like what he said, one had to pay the price of their consequences. In the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. Today, Lin Fan headed straight to Jiangbei University after breakfast. After all, it was not good for a teacher to let their students study on their own for a long time. Moreover, today was the last day of the semester. On the last day, he should help the students solve the problems of the semester. At that moment, several bright banners were hung in front of the gate of Jiangbei University. Congratulations to Professor Lin Fan for winning the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Congratulations to Professor Lin Fan for winning the Nobel Prize in Physics. Congratulations to Professor Lin for winning the Nobel Prize in Medicine. Congratulations to Professor Lin Fan for winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Many students who were coming in and out of the school stopped and took pictures of the banners and the school gates with their phones. 4 Nobel Prizes, it was a very prestigious matter worthy of sending it to their friends. Lin Fan was already used to his name hanging on the banners, so he did not care at all. Just as he walked into the office, Hao Jiwu, who was pouring tea, noticed him and said excitedly, Professor Lin, you're a great man. Jiang Keiaquan, Nai Junjiang, Liu Kaianqian and the others turned around and looked at him. Their eyes were filled with admiration. Xia Bing and Xia Zhu took out a bottle of energy drink each and handed them out. Lin Fan took them and took a sip out of each. Are there any questions that you can't answer recently? Professor Lin, I wrote a thesis, what do you think? Hao Jiwu said. As he spoke, he handed over a stack of documents. Lin Fan did not wait any longer and started flipping through the pages. In just a few seconds, he had finished reading the thesis. Hao Jiwu usually looked like a boisterous person who loved to play games, but he was still a good student. Lin Fan said, you have a good understanding of the nervous system, however there are still some flaws. Send me the electronic version, I'll edit it and then I'll help you try submitting it to science. Hao Jiwu's heart skipped a beat and he said excitedly, yes, Professor Lin. Science was the top journal of almost all scientific research categories, only Nature could compare to it. If he could publish a paper in science, it would definitely be a big deal. When the others heard this, they all cast envious gazes at Hao Jiwu. At this moment, Liu Kaianqian said, Professor Lin, I've also written a thesis. Send me the electronic version, said Lin Fan. After a pause, he said, the same for the others too, just send it to me when you're done. Lin Fan had just sat down when several emails popped up. They were papers from Hao Jiwu, Liu Kaianqian, Jiang Keiaquan, and Nai Junjiang. Liu Kaianqian and the others were already the top existences among the many students. In addition to the hard work they had put in during this period of time, everyone had improved greatly. Everyone's thesis was very good. With Lin Fan's editing and polishing, these theses had the possibility of being published in top journals. Like most teachers, Lin Fan did not have a full day of classes on the last day before summer break. They knew that the students' minds were no longer on school. In addition, there were many students who needed to take the train home. However, Lin Fan decided not to have a full day of class for another reason. He wanted to go home for lunch. As it was noon, it was not the peak hour for work, so there were not many cars on the road. Lin Fan drove the Cullinan across several roads and drove straight onto the highway. Then like a ferocious beast, he sped toward Qing City. About an hour later, the familiar 4 streets appeared in his vision. Just as he parked his car and walked out, a familiar figure ran over from afar. Brother, you're back. It was Lin Xiaoyao. Lin Xiaoyao shouted from afar and then threw herself into Lin Fan's arms. 536 obtained, game. How old are you? Lin Fan scolded. Why are you still pouncing on me like this? Then he reached out and pinched Lin Xiaoyao's fair face. You've lost weight again, hurry up and eat more, it's more comfortable to pinch you when you have some meat in your cheeks. Lin Xiaoyao pouted her lips and turned around. Mom, look, brother is saying the same thing again. Dai Weixu walked over from afar and said, Lil Fan, why didn't you say you were coming back? I didn't buy any groceries, you haven't had lunch yet, right? Lin Fan's family had a habit. Whenever Lin Fan and Lin Xiaoyao returned home from school or other places, they would prepare a large table of sumptuous dishes for them. Lin Fan naturally knew about this habit. He smiled and said, I'm not picky, I'll just eat a little. I think there's some meat in the fridge, Dai Weixu said. Smoke rose up and a fragrance that only came from home-cooked food quickly filled the entire house. Not long after, green pepper shredded pork, dried pork, mushroom lean meat soup, fried beef with onions, scrambled eggs with tomatoes, and other very ordinary dishes were served on the table. At this moment Lin Tao also returned. He casually turned on the TV and picked up the bowl and chopsticks, saying, Lil Fan, you guys should be on summer vacation, right? Yes, Lin Fan said. As he spoke, Lin Fan picked up a large piece of meat and put it into his mouth, enjoying it very much. When he was in Jiangbei, Lin Fan had abalone and lobsters almost every day. It was extremely luxurious. However, luxurious dishes could never compare to the food made by his mother. Eat slowly, don't choke, Dai Weixu said. Lin Fan said, I can't help it, your dishes are too delicious. Dai Weixu smiled, child, you've become a sweet talker after going to university. I'm telling the truth, Lin Fan said. How was the final exam? You didn't fail, right? Lin Tao asked. In the eyes of parents, children were forever children. As for the children who were still studying, the topic of studies could never be ignored. Even though Lin Fan had already displayed his extraordinary side, it was still the same. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm no longer a student at Jiangbei University, Lin Fan said. Lin Tao and Dai Weixu could not help but look up. Lin Fan cleared his throat and said, I'm a professor at Jiangbei University now, so I don't have to take exams. Professor? Really? Lin Tao's and Dai Weixu's voices were raised. A professor was definitely a high and mighty intellectual. It was rare for them to even meet one. Lin Fan nodded his head, yes. At this moment, the news report was playing on the television. Congratulations to Professor Lin Fan of Jiangbei University for winning the Nobel Prize in Physics, Chemistry, Medicine, and Peace. Lin Tao opened his mouth and said in a trembling voice, the one they're talking about is. Lin Fan nodded and said, I'm the Lin Fan the news is talking about. Silence. The entire living room suddenly fell silent. Even though Lin Tao and Dai Weixu had only attended junior high school, they had heard of the Nobel Prize. That was the highest academic award in the world. In the end, their son obtained 4. In fact, this news had been broadcasted many times. At that time, they even said that this Nobel Prize winner had the same name as their son. However, Lin Tao and Dai Weixu did not think too much about it. After all, their son was only a student at Jiangbei University. In addition, they also felt that their son would not be able to obtain such awards. In the end, it was true. How could this not surprise them? Lin Xiaoyao was the first to react. She shouted, F***CK, this is awesome. If it were in the past, Lin Xiaoyao would have been reprimanded for cursing. Today, however, Dai Weixu and Lin Tao did not have such thoughts. Lil Fan, how did you win so many Nobel Prizes? Dai Weixu asked. Lin Fan said, I invented some things and won the prizes out of nowhere. If this was heard by some big shots, who knew what they would think? The meal slowly came to an end as Lin Fan enjoyed the delicious food and Lin Tao and Dai Weixu were shocked. After eating and drinking his fill, Lin Fan sat on the sofa and sipped on spirit tea, feeling extremely satisfied. Lin Xiaoyao, on the other hand, was holding her tablet and watching a TV show seriously. An hour passed and she had not changed her posture. Lin Fan could not help but ask, what show are you watching? Are you that obsessed? As he spoke, he even moved his head closer. He saw many people wearing green clothes. They were either running or fighting. It was very intense. Tentacle World, Lin Xiaoyao said, it's been very popular recently. It's a very good TV show. In fact, this was also the reason why Lin Xiaoyao did not know that Lin Fan had won the Nobel Prize. For the past few days, she was completely immersed in the TV show called Tentacle World and could not extricate herself. She did not pay attention to any news at all. Are Korean shows that good? Lin Fan asked. I don't like Korean people either, but this show is indeed very good, Lin Xiaoyao said. There are all kinds of levels in the game and they're very exciting. I heard that Jiangbei already has the script to remake Tentacle World. Lin Xiaoyao's eyes sparkled as she spoke. Clearly she was very passionate about this. Then Lin Xiaoyao seemed to have thought of something and said, Brother, I got into Jiangbei University. Lin Fan said happily, really, not bad, not bad. After all, Jiangbei University was the best university in Jiang province. At the same time, it was also one of the top 10 universities in the country. However, with Lin Fan's current strength, a diploma or something like that was useless. Even so, it was a good thing for his sister to be able to get in and experience the good atmosphere of Jiangbei University. Lin Xiaoyao blinked her big eyes and said, Brother, do you remember what you said last time? If I get into Jiangbei University, you'll promise me one thing. What do you want? Lin Fan asked. Brother, I want to play Tentacle World, Lin Xiaoyao said with a smile. Lin Fan was stunned. It was not that her request was difficult. After all, Lin Xiaoyao had just mentioned that Jiangbei had come up with a script to produce it. The reason he was stunned was that a clear voice sounded in his mind. Ding, mission triggered, host a large-scale Tentacle World event with more than 500 people and receive more than 80% of positive comments from the participants. Reward, 5 golden packets. After a while, Lin Fan came back to his senses and smiled. Don't worry, I'll definitely bring you to have the most fun at Tentacle World. 537 Reporting Registration. The next day. By the time Lin Fan got up from his bed, the sun was already hanging above the treetops, emitting an incomparably dazzling light. Even though the bed at home was not as soft, spacious, and luxurious as the one in the Coiling Dragon Villa, it gave Lin Fan an indescribable sense of comfort and warmth. Lin Fan looked at his phone. Notice from Merchant Bank, 75,449,000 yuan was deposited into your account. Then he placed his attention on the sign-in system. Sign in. Ding, congratulations, you've received 10% of the shares of Neifei Corporation. Seeing this, Lin Fan's lips curled up. One had to know. Neifei Corporation was a world-renowned film and television company with a market value of nearly 2 trillion yuan. In other words, he had earned 200 billion from today's check-in. Of course, money was still a small matter. The most important thing was that this proved that his good luck had come again. In addition, after triggering the mission yesterday, Lin Fan had specially checked that Tentacle World was filmed by Neifei Corporation. He was about to hold the Tentacle World event, so he had to prepare some necessary authorization in advance. Otherwise, it might cause some trouble. Lin Fan hated trouble. Yesterday, he was still thinking of looking for the other party's contact information. Now it seemed that he no longer needed to. At this moment, Lin Fan's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and saw that it was an unknown number from overseas. Hello, is this Mr. Lin? As soon as the call connected, fluent English sounded. Lin Fan said in Chinese, it's me. The voice on the phone stopped abruptly. After a while, a magnetic voice sounded. Hello, Mr. Lin? I'm the translator for Mr. Gert, the chairman of Neifei Corporation. Mr. Gert said that he would like to thank you for your trust in Neifei Corporation and for buying a large number of shares in the company and becoming the second largest shareholder of the company. The magnetic voice became even more respectful when saying this. The second largest shareholder of the company, he was definitely a big shot. Mr. Gert says that if you're free, he'll give you a detailed report on the future work and financial information of the company. Lin Fan said, there's no need to report, I believe in his ability, just continue to develop according to the original path, I'll only take the dividends. Mr. Gert thanks you for your trust in him. He won't let you down and will definitely build the Neifei Corporation into the world's top audio and video company. Lin Fan said, "Oh, right. Tell Gert that I'm going to hold a Tentacle World-themed event. Ask him what kind of authorization documents I need." Mr. Gert said that he would like to thank you for your interest in Tentacle World and that Nefei Corporation will directly release the authorization to you and will strongly support your activities. Lin Fan nodded in satisfaction. All right. In the blink of an eye, a week had passed. On this day, similar news appeared on Weibo, Douyin, UA Browser, Penguin News, and other major communication platforms. 1 billion yuan, please come play Tentacle World. Shocking, top rich young master spends 1 billion yuan to recreate the set of Tentacle World. Let's play Tentacle World together, 1 billion yuan prize money. Play games and bring home 1 billion yuan. Let's play Tentacle World. You can't spend it all in one lifetime, Tentacle World. Countless people were curious and excited. They checked the news and joined the comments. Iceland participating in Tentacle World, 1 billion yuan, really. Cockroach, is there any analysis done on this? It's 1 billion. Fanxing, I think it's true. This event is jointly sponsored by Little Tanuki Group, Penguin Group, and Alphabet Group. In addition, Nefei Corporation is also helping to promote this. Let me explain, Nefei Corporation is the producer of Tentacle World in our country. Brother Hua, it's a billion yuan reward for this game. Is this like the TV show where you have to be the last one standing while others are killed off? Flower in the wind, how is that possible? If that's the case, even if Little Tanuki, Penguin, and Alphabet were given the greatest courage, they wouldn't dare to publicize it. Love me, love you, it's impossible for them to kill. Forget it, I'll sign up first. What if I really get the reward? That's 1 billion. Farming, that's right, I'll sign up for it. Booming fire register. As the news continued to spread, the popularity continued to rise. Some people started mentioning it during celebrity interviews. Hero, have you ever heard of Tentacle World? The sweet-looking host who was wearing a suit asked with a smile. Of course, the man sitting opposite him said, this is a very thrilling and exciting TV show. To be honest, I even deliberately skipped 2 days of work to watch it. As he said this, the man's face revealed a hint of reminiscence. Really, I didn't expect that you would have such a mysterious side to you, the host said in surprise. In fact, I'm not usually fascinated by other TV shows. Tentacle World is just too good, I couldn't help but finish watching it in one go. You know what, when I was watching it, I even forgot to eat and drink. When the man said this, he could not help but become excited, as if he had entered the plot of Tentacle World. I understand this feeling very well. After a pause, the host continued, speaking of the TV show Tentacle World, I recently saw the game event for Tentacle World online. According to the publicity, a total of 1 billion yuan will be used as prize money for this event. The man said, yes, I also saw this event. Moreover, I've already signed up to participate in the game. Perhaps the 1 billion yuan prize is a bit exaggerated, but I think this is definitely a very interesting game. The host said, heavens, even you are participating. It seems that the people who sign up for the event this time not only have the chance to get the prize, but they can also play games with their idol hero. The man said, I also hope to play with everyone. However, the number of people who have signed up has already exceeded 1 million. However, only 500 people will be selected to participate. Therefore, I don't know if I'll be selected in the end. When he said this, there was a hint of helplessness and anticipation in his tone. This interview received a lot of attention. As a result, some celebrities joined in similar interviews. There were also some celebrities who posted articles and pictures that they liked about Tentacle World on Weibo. In an instant, Tentacle World became popular all over the internet. Lin Fan did not care about what was happening on the internet. He directly handed over the specific activities of Tentacle World to the manager of Imperial Hotel, Wang Fengyi, and the CEO of Kingkun Group, Li Wanian. With regards to Wang Fengyi's abilities, Lin Fan was still rather assured. He was the one in charge of Ling Ru's concert last time, and it was a great success. Li Wanian owned Kingkun Hotel, Kingkun Real Estate, Kingkun Supermarket, and others. He had a lot of people and land in Qing City. Lin Fan believed that if the two of them worked together, there would not be any problems. He did not have to worry about it. Every day he ate, drank tea, and strolled around the familiar streets. He was extremely relaxed. Today, as usual, Lin Fan got up very comfortably. He was satisfied. Many people were extremely excited. Among them was Lin Xiaoyao. She had been lying by Lin Fan's window early in the morning. Brother, you're up. If we go over so late, will the Tentacle World event already start? Lin Fan looked at her anxious expression and could not help but laugh. The event starts at 10 o'clock. It's still early. Besides, I'm the boss. If the boss doesn't go, who would dare to start the event? Lin Xiaoyao nodded and said, That's true. Did you really get the 1 billion yuan in prize money? At this point, she could not help but feel a little heartache. She had been to the Coiling Dragon Villa the last time she went to Jiangbei and knew that Lin Fan had a lot of money. However, this was a game event with prize money amounting to 1 billion. She could not bear to see the money spent. Lin Fan smiled, Don't worry, I've already earned it back after spending it. Lin Fan was definitely not spouting nonsense. This was because through the promotion of the past few days, the popularity of Tentacle World had reached unprecedented heights. As a result, the share price of the company that produced Tentacle World, Neifei Corporation, rose by 1%. One had to know that the market value of Neifei Corporation was close to 200 billion yuan. 1% was 20 billion yuan. Lin Fan owned 10% of the shares of the company, which meant that the value had increased by 2 billion. In addition, Penguin Group took advantage of the popularity of Tentacle World to announce that they were going to develop a game, which increased their share price by 1%. Penguin Group's market value was close to 5 trillion yuan. 1% was 50 billion. Lin Fan owned 80% of Penguin Group's shares. In other words, his assets had increased by 40 billion. Of course, even if there was not any increase in value, Lin Fan would not care about it. After all, it was only 1 billion yuan. Lin Fan saw that Lin Xiaoyao was still worried about the 1 billion yuan and said, The final winner will receive at least 500 million yuan. Work hard and earn it back. Lin Xiaoyao nodded vigorously and said, Yes, brother, I'll work hard. If both of us earn 500 million, we'll earn it all back. A look of struggle appeared on her face. Work hard together. Obviously, Lin Fan was going to participate in the Tentacle World event. Originally, he did not plan to participate. However, he could not convince Lin Xiaoyao. Besides, he was fine. He thought of it as playing games with his sister, so he agreed in the end. After the two of them had breakfast, they got into the Cullinan and headed to Qing City Stadium. The road today was extremely congested. Looking up into the distance, it was densely packed with vehicles. Some people had been stuck on the road for a long time, so they began to use clever methods to seize the opportunity. However, sometimes, this kind of cleverness made the traffic even worse. Some people were bored and began to discuss and complain. Why is it so crowded today? You still don't know? Today, Qing City Stadium is going to hold an event with prize money amounting to 1 billion, so many tourists rushed over. An event with prize money amounting to 1 billion? Really, what kind of event is it? It's Tentacle World, the TV show. On TV, one can get money by clearing the checkpoints, and in the end, one can get a lot of money. I don't know what this event is like. As for whether it's real or fake, many people on the internet said it's real. No wonder it attracted so many people. Isn't that so? Although these conversations were not loud and they were even separated by the car window, none of them could escape Lin Fan's ears. After all, he had already drunk the hearing enhancement potion. Lin Xiaoyao, who was sitting in the Cullinan, could not help but worry. Brother, will we be late? Before Lin Fan could reply, the car behind him honked several times. The driver of the car next to Lin Fan stuck his head out and shouted, What are you honking for? Can't you see that we're all stuck here? Do you think you can fly over? Fly over. Lin Fan's expression changed slightly and he said to Lin Xiaoyao, Don't worry, we'll definitely be able to get to the stadium before 10 o'clock. Then he picked up his phone and made a call. After a while, there was a roar above their heads. Many people raised their heads curiously. Soon someone exclaimed, "It's a private jet." Heavens! What a cool plane! There's actually a private jet in Qing City. As the crowd shouted, the luxurious private jet lowered its altitude and lowered a rope ladder. A young man climbed down the rope ladder and came to the Cullinan's side. He said respectfully, "Mr. Lin, good day." Lin Fan nodded, "I'll leave the car to you." "Mr. Lin, don't worry," the young man said. Lin Xiaoyao, who was standing at the side, said somewhat stiffly, "Brother, this plane. Don't we have to arrive before 10 o'clock? Let's go," Lin Fan said. After saying that, under the gazes of countless people in the traffic jam, he led Lin Xiaoyao up the rope ladder and kept climbing. Lin Xiaoyao only seemed to come back to her senses after entering the private jet. She looked down through the window of the private jet and her heart was beating wildly. Her entire face was flushed with excitement as she shouted excitedly, "Brother, I love you." After saying that, she threw herself into Lin Fan's embrace. Lin Fan corrected her, "We're siblings." Eh? As the luxurious private jet rumbled, an incomparably huge red hot air balloon appeared in their field of vision. It looked very festive. This place was Qing City Stadium. At this moment there were already many people around the stadium. Looking down from above, the place was densely packed. It was a different scene. Some people with cameras on their shoulders kept squeezing in, trying their best to capture the scene. Some people who were qualified to participate in the event lined up with the QR code and kept moving forward. Lin Xiaoyao leaned against the window and said excitedly, "So many people." After a loud roar, the luxurious private jet finally landed in the stadium. Soon a staff member walked over. Lin Fan said, "Let's go and play the games." Lin Xiaoyao nodded vigorously. 539 shocked, Lin Xiaoyao regrets. Amidst the discussion and noise, the 500 selected game participants put on their green sportswear and came to the spacious stadium. They looked at the flashy lights around the stadium and could not help but let out a burst of discussion. "The clothes are exactly the same as in the TV show. But why don't I see that big wooden figure? What is that hot air balloon above us? It's so big. I wonder if there'll be police officers with guns. Do you guys think that 1 billion is real? It's probably just a gimmick. But it's already very good." Everyone was discussing nonstop, their faces full of smiles. Obviously, they were all fans of Tentacle World. At this moment, a loud and clear voice sounded from the stadium's broadcast. "Welcome to Tentacle World." As soon as he finished speaking, the red cloth on the huge hot air balloon was slowly removed. In the next moment, a transparent glass cover appeared in everyone's vision. Inside the glass cover was a mountain of $100 bills. Wow! Everyone who participated in the game, the reporters, and the audience outside the stadium exclaimed in unison. Heavens! So much money! How much money is inside? Could it be that the final winner will really get at least 500 million yuan like the news said? Is that how much is inside? Everyone was so excited that they could not control themselves. Originally, most people thought that the news promotion of the 1 billion yuan prize was just a gimmick. Now that they saw so much cash, they understood that perhaps it was all true. Therefore, those who were not selected came to the staff outside the stadium and shouted, "Hi, can I still register now? Can I still participate in the Tentacle World event? May I register?" Even if there was still a chance, they wanted to try. After all, this was an event with a total prize of 1 billion. If they won, they would get at least 500 million. 500 million. It could completely change a person's life. However, they did not have the slightest chance. The staff members looked at the money in the hot air balloon and felt their throats go dry. They gulped and said, "Sorry, it's already past the event registration time." The originally excited participants became even more excited when they saw the money in the hot air balloon. They kept shouting and clenching their fists. They were even more serious about this game. Lin Xiaoyao, who was in the crowd, looked at the mountain of money above her head and said in a daze, "Brother." "What's wrong?" Lin Fan asked. "Can we cancel the event? It's so much money." Lin Xiaoyao said. As she spoke, tears seemed to flash in her eyes. Although she already knew about the 1 billion yuan prize money beforehand, it was just a number then. Now that she could see it with her own eyes, it was an incomparably shocking pile of money. If there was no event, the money would be Lin Fan's. Lin Fan was her brother, was a brother's money, not for his sister to spend. This money could have all been hers. Therefore Lin Xiaoyao regretted it. Lin Fan looked at Lin Xiaoyao's pitiful face and could not help but smile as he patted her head. Play hard and earn back the money. Lin Xiaoyao nodded vigorously as if she had been reinvigorated. Yes. At this moment, a loud voice sounded from the broadcast again. Everyone should have seen it already. There's 500 million yuan above your heads. It's also the guaranteed prize money for the winner of this Tentacle World event. As soon as he said that, the scene became even noisier. They had already guessed this outcome. However, after it was confirmed, it was still difficult to calm down. They were extremely excited. Regarding this, the host did not pay much attention to it. Now I will introduce the rules of the first game. In an instant, the entire scene fell silent. The game participants in the stadium all pricked up their ears, afraid that they would miss out a word. After all, this was an important event that determined whether or not they could get 500 million yuan in prize money. In fact, it was not just the participants who quieted down. The reporters and spectators standing around the stadium also stopped talking. This was definitely a hot topic for the reporters. The audience, on the other hand, was looking forward to a similar event in the future. In that case, they might have a chance to get a 500 million bonus. The name of the first round is called 123 Wooden Figure. When the wooden figure turns around, the participants can't move their bodies, otherwise they'll be eliminated. Anyone who successfully arrives at the destination from the starting position within the specified time will be considered to have cleared the stage. Those who clear the stage will receive a reward of 200,000 yuan. The losers will receive a reward of 100,000 yuan. The entire place was in an uproar again. If they failed, they would still receive a reward of 100,000 yuan. In other words, anyone who participated in the game could get at least 100,000 yuan. For some people, 100,000 yuan was nothing. Perhaps it was just the price of a bottle of wine. However, for many of these players, it was equivalent to a year's salary. If they cleared the first round, they could get 200,000 yuan. This was money that the average person would have to work hard for 2 years to earn. Previously, when many people saw the 500 million in cash above their heads, although they were excited, they still felt that it was just a gimmick and that they would not get the money at all. At this moment, they completely threw this thought to the back of their minds now. This was a game where one could get a lot of bonuses. Thus, they were serious and excited about playing the games. Outside the stadium, those who did not manage to participate were filled with envy. At this moment, the curtain at the front of the stadium fell, and a tall and cute-looking figure appeared in front of them. At the same time, 2 horizontal lines appeared on the stadium. One was in front of the figure, and the other was in front of the participants. Game duration 3 minutes. As soon as the host finished speaking, a large group of people in red clothes, masks, and weapons walked out from behind the stage. They stared ahead, giving off an invisible sense of oppression. Someone said in a low voice, "These people, don't tell me they're holding real guns." No, I don't know. It shouldn't be possible, right? When they signed up, they definitely did not believe that firearms would be used. However, they were a little hesitant now. That was because there was too much money on the line. Countdown begins. The host's voice was getting louder and louder. 10, 9, 8. Everyone stared unblinkingly at the screen on the stage. The numbers kept jumping and their heartbeats began to accelerate along with these jumping numbers. 540. The first round cleared. 3, 2, 1. As the clock struck 0, the broadcast started to play a very cheerful tune. 1, 2, 3 Wooden Figure. All the competitors ran forward without any hesitation. As long as they ran to the finish line, they would receive 200,000. It had to be said that 500 people in uniform running together made a pretty good scene. At this moment the music suddenly sped up. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. In the next moment, the figure that was originally facing away from everyone suddenly turned its head. When some people watched the TV show Tentacle World, they felt that the first stage was very simple. As long as they did not move their body before the figure turned around, they would be able to clear the stage easily. Actually, that was not the case. When the figure turned around, most people could indeed stabilize their bodies. However, there were still a small number of people who were too excited or found it hard because of their physique or stumbled because of inertia, their bodies shook uncontrollably and they even fell to the ground. If they were to sway and fall to the ground, the people around them would suffer. One person influenced two others, two people influenced four others. Under the wooden figure's gaze, the dozens of people began to sway. In the distance, men wearing red clothes and masks raised their guns at these people. Immediately, red paint appeared on the bodies of these participants. Eliminated. They looked at the red paint on their bodies and could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they were not real guns. However, they sighed again. They could not get the 500 million bonus. The game continued. The wooden figure turned around and continued to face the crowd. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. The wooden figure turned around again. With too many people, it was easy to cause chaos. This time, dozens of people shook their bodies. Lin Xiaoyao almost fell to the ground. Lin Fan's reaction was extremely fast and he had immense strength. He grabbed Lin Xiaoyao and saved her. She had dodged it, but those dozens of people were not so lucky. The masked men in red shot at them without hesitation, causing a smear of red paint to appear on their green clothes. Eliminated. The game continued. Although the rules of the game were very simple and the music was light and pleasant due to the running, guns, prize money, and other conditions, it brought a great sense of excitement. Finally, the first batch of people arrived at their destination. As if they had just survived a calamity, they all shouted excitedly. Soon, the second batch of people arrived at their destination. Those who passed were naturally happy. Those who did not pass were a little anxious. Since many people were focused on stability, they took very small steps. They were still far from the finish line. However, more than half of the time had passed. This made them anxious. The more anxious they were, the more mistakes they would make. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. This time, when the figure turned around, dozens of people moved again. The game continued. Time continued to move. When there were only 30 seconds left in the game, the remaining participants all panicked. "Brother, what should we do now?" Lin Xiaoyao asked anxiously. After all, she still wanted to win with Lin Fan. Were they going to be eliminated in the first round? They would be noobs. This 1 billion was Lin Fan's own money. Lin Fan said, "We'll clear it." At this moment, the figure turned around again. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. Lin Fan picked up Lin Xiaoyao and rushed forward. Before the figure could turn around, he had reached the finish line. The other participants seemed to have been influenced by Lin Fan's actions. They all rushed forward. This round had turned into a 100-meter sprint. Some people were fast and could succeed. Some were destined to fail. At this moment, the figure suddenly turned around. Those who were still running felt their hearts turn cold. Immediately after, the masked men in red started shooting wildly. The first game officially ended. Those who had passed the first round all shouted excitedly. Their faces were full of smiles as if they had survived a great disaster. "I passed. That's great." Lin Xiaoyao threw herself into Lin Fan's arms and shouted excitedly, "Brother, we passed the first stage, thank goodness I have you." The first round was spectated by the audience outside the stadium. They all started discussing. "This game is really interesting. This is what I call 100% replica." At the end, a guy seemed to have hugged a woman and directly rushed over. He was so fast, right? Yeah. While everyone was discussing, those who had lost the first round walked out dejectedly. When they arrived at the entrance, many spectators rushed over. "How is it? Is the game fun?" Didn't they say that even if you fail, you'll still be given 100,000 yuan? Did they pay? One of the losers seemed to have just thought of this. He was about to ask the staff. At this moment, the phone in his pocket suddenly vibrated slightly. Notice from Construction Bank, 100,000 yuan was deposited into your account. It's here 100,000 yuan has been transferred to my account, he muttered. In fact, it was not just his phone that vibrated. The phones of all the losers and those who had just finished the game vibrated at the same time. Notice from Merchant Bank, 200,000 yuan was deposited into your account. Notice from Tianshan Bank, 100,000 yuan was deposited into your account. In the next moment, everyone shouted excitedly, "It's in my account. The bonus has arrived." They were really paid. The audience outside cast envious gazes at the participants. Those who had failed cast envious gazes at the people who had cleared the stage. However, when they saw the text message notification on their phones, a hint of unconcealable joy appeared on their faces. It was not bad to earn 100,000 yuan by playing a game for a few minutes. In the stadium, the people who passed the first stage hugged their phones and looked at the text notifications. Their faces almost bloomed with laughter. At this moment, a loud voice sounded from the broadcast again. The number of people who passed the first game is 349. Congratulations. Next, let me introduce the second game. Instantly, the entire scene fell silent again. Everyone stopped looking at their phones and perked up their ears. They had cleared the first round and received 200,000 yuan. What if they passed the second round? How much money could they get? What if they became the final winner? That was a guaranteed 500 million bonus. Just thinking about it made everyone's heart beat faster again, and they listened more carefully to the broadcast. Under everyone's anticipation, the loud and clear voice finally sounded from the broadcast again. The second game is Folding Stars. Many people were stunned when they heard this. Folding Stars. According to the TV show, should it not be a game that involved sugar cookies? Why did it become Folding Stars? How would they know that Lin Fan had specially instructed them to change it? According to the TV show, one had to lick the sugar cookie with their tongue. Lin Fan did not want to do that. The voice on the broadcast did not care about the doubts of the crowd and continued, "Within 5 minutes, fold as many stars as you can and you can clear the level. For every star that is folded, you'll receive a reward of 200,000 yuan. The losers will receive a reward of 100,000 yuan." As soon as he said this, the entire venue was instantly ignited with enthusiasm. Everyone completely forgot that the second round did not involve sugar cookies. 200,000 yuan for every star folded. It was simply a good opportunity to get rich. Lin Xiaoyao in particular shouted excitedly, "Brother, that's great, it's folding stars." That was because she liked to fold stars when she was free at home. She was very skilled at it. Lin Fan smiled and nodded. The eyes of the audience outside the stadium turned red. This was pure jealousy. "Oh my god, it's actually folding stars. I can fold one in 2 minutes, with 5 minutes. Doesn't that mean I can earn at least 400,000 yuan? When I was studying, I was bored every day and would fold stars. Why wasn't I chosen to participate in the game? I regret not signing up." Amidst the crowd's excitement and discussion, the masked men in red handed the colorful origami paper to the participants. The voice on the broadcast said again, "The countdown for the second game, Folding Stars, begins now. 10, 9, 8. The numbers on the stage screen kept jumping. 2, 1. With a soft sound, the players began to fold stars. Someone once said that time was money. At this moment, they had a deep understanding of it. Those who did not know how to fold stars were standing by the side, secretly learning. Those who knew how to do it would naturally be able to fold it successfully. It looked simple, but when one really tried to do it, it was not that easy. Of course, Lin Fan was not one of them. Lin Fan did not fold the stars, he just watched Lin Xiaoyao's fingers move quickly. In just a minute, a star was folded. 200,000, she muttered. Then she hurriedly folded the second star. Seeing this, Lin Fan could not help but shake his head. He had never folded stars before, but he had memorized Lin Xiaoyao's steps by scanning them with his skills. His speed and skill even surpassed Lin Xiaoyao. Lin Fan's first star only took about 40 seconds. For his second star, the time was shortened to about 30 seconds. Some people could learn it right away, while others could not. It seemed like the steps were the same, but in the end they realized that the stars were actually knotted. Thus they had to fold it again. One mistake, two mistakes. 5 minutes passed. Time's up, stop. A loud voice sounded from the broadcast. Some people did not stop and continued to fold the stars. The masked men in red raised their guns. Immediately, the green clothes of the participants who did not fold even one star and those who did not stop folding even after the round ended had a touch of red paint on them. Eliminated. Nearly 100 people were eliminated. The losers' faces were filled with sorrow. The people who passed were filled with joy. Then, the phones in everyone's pockets vibrated. Notice from Construction Bank, 200,000 yuan was deposited into your account. Notice from Merchant Bank, 400,000 yuan was deposited into your account. Notice from Merchant Bank, 100,000 yuan was deposited into your account. When everyone saw the text message, their faces were immediately filled with smiles. After the losers left, the broadcast sounded again. The number of people who passed the second game is 268. Next, let me introduce the third game. Instantly, everyone became spirited again. The 2 consecutive games earned the participants at least 400,000 yuan. This made them realize the reality of the game. No one would complain about having too much money. There was still 500 million in cash hanging above their heads. The third game is a tug-of-war. The 2 people closest to each other will form a tug-of-war team, and then the competition will be randomly assigned. The winners will clear the stage and each person will receive a prize of 500,000 yuan. The losers will each receive 200,000 yuan. Hearing this, everyone's hearts began to beat wildly. In other words, they could at least get another 200,000 yuan. Once they won, they would get 500,000 yuan. Everyone hurriedly looked at the person standing beside them. The strong men and weak women revealed happy and depressed expressions respectively. The masked men in red did not pay much attention to them. They took out blue and red number plates and handed them to everyone. "Brother, can we get through this?" Lin Xiaoyao asked nervously. After all, she was only a third-year high school student and did not have much strength. She knew that Lin Fan had solved many difficult math problems, invented many amazing things, and even won the Nobel Prize. He was an amazing professor. However, the more it was like this, the more it meant that Lin Fan did not have much time to train. He probably was not strong. How could Lin Fan not understand the meaning behind her words? He smiled and patted her head. "Don't worry, I can pass." One had to know. He had drunk the Constitution Enhancement Potion several times, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that his current strength was superhuman. Playing tug-of-war was a piece of cake for him. Even if the opponent was 20 men, he could still easily win. When Lin Xiaoyao heard this, her initial nervousness immediately disappeared and was replaced with confidence. As long as Lin Fan said so, then it would definitely be the case. The host's voice rang out again. The participants of the tug-of-war will compete according to the blue and red numbers. Lin Xiaoyao and Lin Fan had the blue number 33. After a while, a round-faced man and a tall, thin man walked over with a red number 33. The number plate was the same, but the color was different. They were Lin Fan and Lin Xiaoyao's tug-of-war opponents. The round-faced man and the lanky man also noticed this. They chuckled. Rho Alpha Pi Delta's new Omicronville, C Omicron, we seem to be quite lucky. Yes, we are. As they said this, their eyes flickered. It was as if they could already see the victory of the tug-of-war round in their hands. They would successfully obtain 500,000 yuan. 542 last round, eliminated. It was no wonder the round-faced man and the tall, thin man would have such thoughts. Lin Fan looked more normal, but Lin Xiao appeared very weak. Their advantage was too great. The audience outside the stadium started discussing again after hearing the rules and prize money of the tug-of-war game. As long as you win the tug-of-war, you can get 500,000 yuan. Why wasn't I chosen? 500,000. If I was chosen, I'd definitely get 500,000 yuan immediately. Amidst everyone's discussion, the host's voice once again sounded loud and clear. All participants of the tug-of-war round from Team 1 to Team 10, please step forward. The players holding the respective numbers walked to the area that had already been marked. They picked up the rope in pairs, their eyes filled with determination. They had to win. The tug-of-war competition begins. The women who had always been soft, the old men who could fall at any time. At this moment it was as if all of them had endless strength. They pulled the ropes in their hands and kept pulling. After relentless efforts, some people finally won. They shouted excitedly. Some people won and some people lost. Those who failed were immediately covered in red paint and eliminated. Soon it was Lin Fan and Lin Xiao's turn. Lin Xiao stood on the competition field and gripped the rope tightly. Her palms were sweating. Lin Fan looked at her nervous expression and could not help but laugh. Relax, we'll win soon. At this moment, the voice from the broadcast sounded again. The tug-of-war competition begins. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Fan and Lin Xiao's opponents did not care if they were prepared or not. They pulled the rope with all their might without hesitation. However, they were surprised to find that the other side was not moving at all. One had to know. At this moment, Lin Fan, who was standing in front, was only using one hand to pull the rope. What was going on? When Lin Fan was pulling the rope with one hand, he even turned around to look at Lin Xiao, who was clenching her teeth and exerting her strength. Seeing this, Lin Fan pulled with his right hand. In the next moment, the round-faced man and the tall, thin man seemed to be dragged by a train. They were unable to resist at all and flew forward. The match had ended. The masked men in red standing at the side raised their guns at them. Lin Xiao was a little confused at first, but she quickly reacted. She jumped into Lin Fan's arms and shouted excitedly, "Brother, we won." Lin Fan nodded, yes. The tug-of-war took a relatively long time. When it ended, the entire venue was obviously much more spacious. The number of people who cleared the third round is 134. The fourth round is also the last game of this event, Tentacles. When everyone heard this, their bodies all turned solemn. It was the last round, which meant that they were only one step away from the 500 million prize money. At this moment, everyone's hearts were beating wildly like drums. Randomly form a group of 13 or 14 people. There'll be a total of 10 groups and there'll be a stool in the middle of each group. After the tune ends, everyone must sit on the stool within 1 second of the first person sitting down. Otherwise, it'll be considered a failure. Take note, the first to sit will also fail. The losers will receive a prize of 300,000 yuan. For every successful attempt, the winner will receive a prize of 500,000 yuan. The game will go on until the final victor is decided. This time, there were more instructions than in the previous rounds. Everyone's hearts beat faster and faster with every word the host said. The masked men in red were very efficient. In a short while, 10 ordinary stools appeared on the field. At the same time, they took out the translucent box meant for drawing lots. According to the lots, Lin Fan was placed in Group 2 and Lin Xiao was placed in Group 5. Without Lin Fan's company, Lin Xiao felt uneasy. Lin Fan was extremely calm. Let the countdown for the fourth game begin. 10, 9. As the countdown sounded, the participants all discarded their thoughts and focused their gazes on the stool in the middle. They only had one thought in mind, and that was to sit on the stool as soon as possible. 3, 2, 1. Instantly, the lively music from the beginning appeared again. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. In an instant, everyone seemed to have transformed into hungry wolves in the cold wind and pounced on the stool. Each group's stool was quickly filled with people. Lin Fan was one of the players sitting on the stool in Group 2. His body was very stable. Lin Xiaoyao also sat on the stool for Group 5, but her body was a little shaky. As for those who were late or could not sit on the stools, they were greeted with a wave of paint guns. They were eliminated. This time, almost half of the people were eliminated. Hence the groups merged into 5 groups. Lin Fan looked at Lin Xiaoyao, who was extremely focused and serious and wanted to laugh. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. This time, the tune was obviously a little longer. Some were so anxious that they took the lead to sit on the stool while others were a little behind, causing them to not be able to sit on the stool at all. Lin Fan was one of the people who could not sit on the stool. However, Lin Fan was not slow. After all, there was no one in this world who could surpass him in terms of speed and reaction. If Lin Fan wanted to, he could easily obtain the final victory. However, there was no need. The prize money was only a few 100 million yuan. The reason why Lin Fan joined the game was to play with Lin Xiaoyao. Now he had played with her for so long, it was enough. The masked men in red picked up their guns and shot out a wave of paint. He was eliminated. Lin Xiaoyao, who was sitting on the stool, quickly noticed the situation on Lin Fan's side. "Brother, don't worry, I'll continue to play the game and win the final victory. You can go without worry." Lin Fan looked at her impassioned expression as if she was about to do something big. He could not help but let out a strange smile and said, "All right, work hard." "But what do you mean by I can go without worry?" Lin Xiaoyao did not pay attention to the rest of his words. Her eyes fell on the stool again and she said seriously, "All right." At this moment, there was only the game and the stool in her heart. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. Everyone rushed toward the stool. Relying on her petite figure, Lin Xiaoyao sat down almost immediately. Some of the larger people were not so lucky. This time, almost half of the people were eliminated. It had to be said that Lin Xiaoyao was very serious about the game. Every time, she would use all her strength and speed to sprint forward. After a few rounds, she had not been eliminated. At this moment, only Lin Xiaoyao and a man who was about 1.75 meters tall were left in the huge scene. They allowed the sweat to flow down their foreheads, but their eyes were fixed on the stool without blinking. The air seemed to have become heavy. The final victory would be between the two of them. The audience standing outside the stadium also became nervous and began to discuss. "Who do you think will win?" "Of course, it's that man. A man's speed, reaction time, and endurance are better than a woman's. Moreover, that lady looks so young, she might even still be in high school, so she can't compare to a man." "That's not necessarily true. I saw that girl's speed just now. If they win, they can get at least 500 million yuan. 500 million, I think they can get at least 600 million. As everyone said this, they could not help but look at the stadium with even more focus. Lin Xiaoyao and the man in the stadium felt their hearts beating wildly. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. Almost at the same time, Lin Xiaoyao and the man sat on the stool together. They were evenly matched. The two of them slowly stood up and looked at the stool again. The round began again. 1, 2, 3 wooden figure. This time, perhaps because the man was too excited, he accidentally tripped. Lin Xiaoyao seized the opportunity and sat on the stool. The victor was decided. "Yay!" Lin Xiaoyao shouted happily. In fact, not only was Lin Xiaoyao extremely excited, but the audience outside was also very excited. "She won. Didn't I say that the young lady stands a chance at winning? That's amazing." At this moment, a loud voice sounded from the broadcast. "Congratulations to this lady for obtaining the final victory. The prize money is 798,500,000 yuan." As soon as he said this, the entire stadium was in an uproar. Lin Xiaoyao jumped up excitedly. The man lying on the ground was filled with regret. He almost won 800 million yuan. After receiving so much prize money, Lin Xiaoyao might have to face reporters. It would be very troublesome if she was surrounded. However, at this moment, a luxurious private jet flew over from afar. It picked up Lin Xiaoyao and Lin Fan and sped off into the distance under everyone's gaze. On the plane, Lin Xiaoyao was still extremely excited. Brother, I won, I earned 800 million yuan. When she said this, she could not help but dance. Lin Fan looked at her happy face and smiled. Yes, you did. Then Lin Xiaoyao threw herself into Lin Fan's arms and said, Brother, thank you. In her opinion, the reason why Lin Fan spent 1 billion yuan to organize this game event was to make her happy. It was great to have such a brother. Lin Fan said, what's there to thank between siblings? At this moment, a crisp notification rang out in Lin Fan's mind. Mission completed. Host a large-scale Tentacle World event with more than 500 people and receive more than 80% positive comments from the participants. You've received 5 golden packets. Mission accomplished. When Lin Fan heard this, the smile on his face widened. After the event ended, the crowd in the stadium slowly dispersed after a long time. On Weibo. Satisfied, King City's Tentacle World event is really awesome. Just like what was publicized on the internet, the prize money is 1 billion. I thought it was just a gimmick. Liked Chao Zhang, placing 500 million in cash in a hot air balloon is simply too spectacular. Dubbin 1, 2, 3 wooden figure stacking stars, tug of war, tentacles. As long as you complete any game, you'd receive at least 200,000 yuan. Heavens, even if you don't win in the end, you still earned a few 100,000. Great, cool. I actually forgot to sign up. It feels like I've missed out on hundreds of millions. On duty, I don't want the hundreds of millions in prize money, but I like to play all those games. So when is the next game? Dusk and Night. In the end, a girl actually got 790 million. I'm really envious. As more and more people joined the discussion, the popularity of Tentacle World's event quickly rose to the top of the hot topic list. Then the shares of Neifei Corporation rose by 2 points, and the shares of Penguin Group rose by 1 point. According to the proportion of shares that Lin Fan held, Lin Fan's assets had increased by 44 billion. In other words, Lin Fan's assets had increased by 86 billion after spending 1 billion on the event. Of course, regarding these, Lin Fan did not care at all. After returning home, he placed his attention directly on the golden packets. I'll see what I can get from 5 golden packets. Opened. Ding, congratulations, you've received 500,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 100,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 900,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained a 1 yuan critical hit card. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained the skill Divine Shooting. Lin Fan ignored the first 4 golden packets and focused all his attention on Divine Shooting. A skill. It had been a long time. It had been a long time since he had obtained a skill. Divine Shooting, you know the specific structure and usage of all firearms. Within the effective range of all firearms, you have a 100% accuracy. The more accurate the shot, the greater the charm. At the same time, countless complicated firearms knowledge appeared in Lin Fan's mind. Seeing this, Lin Fan's eyes lit up. There was a time when he liked to watch gunfight movies. The reason was that he felt that shooting firearms was very cool. Who would not like to shoot? He had also fantasized about becoming a sharpshooter. Unexpectedly, it became a reality today. The only pity was that he did not have a gun and could not shoot at all. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, the summer vacation came to an end. Lin Fan had been staying at home for the past 2 months. This was the longest time Lin Fan had spent with his family ever since he started working. It was extremely heartwarming. Today, Dai Weixu made a table full of dishes. The whole family ate happily and contentedly. Then, under the gaze of Lin Tao and Dai Weixu, Lin Fan drove the Cullinan and Lin Xiaoyao toward Jiangbei University. Tomorrow was the day of the new students' registration. When she was at home, Lin Xiaoyao looked forward to going to Jiangbei as soon as possible every day to experience the good times of university. The high school teachers had painted a beautiful picture of university. However, when it was time to leave, she looked at the houses and streets outside the car window and felt very reluctant to leave. I'll be in Jiangbei, Lin Fan said. Yes, Lin Xiaoyao nodded vigorously. Perhaps Lin Fan's words had worked. When the Cullinan drove onto the highway, Lin Xiao's face was full of smiles again. She looked at the lush green trees outside the window and the sun hanging in the mountains. She said excitedly, "Brother, look, it's so beautiful." "Yes, it is," Lin Fan said. "Brother, is university really easy and fun?" Lin Xiao asked. Lin Fan said, "It's really easy. Whether it's fun or not, I don't know." Lin Fan was not lying. That was because he had slept in almost every class when he was in university. Moreover, he could skip classes and take leave whenever he wanted. If this was not relaxing, then what was? Lin Xiao said, so what the teacher said was true. About an hour later, the Cullinan arrived at Jiangbei. Lin Fan first brought Lin Xiao to the supermarket and bought a lot of daily necessities. Then they went to a 2-star Michelin restaurant and had a sumptuous dinner. Lin Xiao almost bit her tongue, exclaiming from time to time. Finally, the two of them arrived at the Coiling Dragon Villa. The last time she came to the Coiling Dragon Villa, Lin Xiao had only taken a look at the exterior. Now that she was living here, she took a good look at the gorgeous decorations and luxurious furniture. It made her feel like she was in a palace, and she became the princess in the story. Tonight Lin Xiao slept very comfortably. The next day, the birds outside the window had already landed on the branches and let out a crisp cry. "I ate a worm today." "I haven't eaten yet." Lin Fan slowly opened his eyes and looked at his phone. Notice from Merchant Bank, 37,899. 200 yuan was deposited into your account. Then he turned his attention to the sign-in system. "Sign in." "Ding, congratulations, you've received 10 million yuan. He got up. Lin Xiao was already sitting on the sofa in the living room. When she saw Lin Fan, she smiled and said, "Brother, good morning." Lin Fan said, "Morning, how was your sleep yesterday?" "It was very comfortable," Lin Xiao said seriously. "All right, then let's go out and have some breakfast, then we'll go to school," Lin Fan said. "All right," Lin Xiao replied. It was peak hour. Moreover, today was September 1st, the first day of school. The road was even more congested. Therefore, they could have reached in 20 minutes, but Lin Fan spent close to an hour. Generally speaking, the school gate would be the most prominent place during the new school year. They would hang banners there welcoming the new students. This year, however, there were many other banners hanging in the prominent positions. Congratulations to Professor Lin Fan for winning the Fields Medal. Congratulations to Professor Lin Fan for winning the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Congratulations to our school's Professor Lin for winning the Nobel Prize in Medicine. Everyone looked up and saw banners congratulating Professor Lin Fan. There was only a small banner in a corner that was hard to notice that read, "Welcome new students." Regarding this, whether it was the seniors or the freshmen, none of them were unhappy. On the contrary, their faces were filled with excitement and admiration. It was an honor for their school to have a professor like Lin Fan. Lin Xiao exclaimed excitedly, "Brother, you're too awesome." Lin Fan rubbed his nose and said, "Go in and settle the admission procedures first." Lin Xiao picked up her phone and, like many others, took a few photos of the gate and banners before saying, "All right." No matter what, Lin Fan had been at Jiangbei University for nearly a year. Besides, he was also a professor at Jiangbei University. Therefore, he was very familiar with the registration location and process. After waiting in line for about 10 minutes, it was almost their turn to register. At this moment, a tall and thin man walked over and said with a smile, "Hello, I'm the head of the student council. I have something urgent to deal with later. Can I please cut in line?" His tone was full of inquiry. However, he did not even wait for Lin Fan to reply and immediately stood in front of him. Lin Fan did not even lift his eyelids as he said, "No." The tall and thin man was stunned on the spot. He could not believe his ears. In his opinion, as the head of the student council, who would reject him if he asked with such a good attitude? The tall and thin man took a deep breath and said, "I'm the head of the student council. There's an important matter for the student council to deal with later." Lin Fan acted as if he did not hear him and continued walking forward. Lil Yao take out the notice. All right, Lin Xiao replied, directly ignoring him. The tall and thin man frowned. He was very unhappy and his face was gloomy. Normally, new students took an hour or two to complete the enrollment process. However, Lin Fan only used 20 minutes to complete all the procedures. Then, he sent Lin Xiao to the entrance of the female dormitory. That was right. Lin Xiao was going to stay in the dormitory. Generally speaking, all university students had to live on campus. With Lin Fan's special status in the school, he could make special arrangements for her. Even so, Lin Xiao still decided to stay in the dormitory. Lin Fan did not object much. He felt that sometimes living in school was not a bad thing. After all, Lin Xiao had grown up. She had to spend time alone with people from all over the world. After Lin Fan was done with Lin Xiao's registration, he walked toward his office. After all, he was a professor now. He had not seen his students for 2 months. What if they encountered a problem? He needed to help solve the problems. At this moment, the student council president who was stopped from cutting the line earlier walked over from afar. He looked at Lin Fan's figure and his eyes moved. Seeing that Lin Fan was about to leave, he quickly took out his phone and took a photo of Lin Fan's back. You won't let me cut the queue, fine then, he sneered. As he spoke, he slowly opened his Moments and Weibo. 545 Ask and Answer. Man in the Wind, on the first day of school when I walked past the basketball court on the field, I saw a guy pick up a black wallet. After secretly stuffing it into his pocket, he hurriedly left. He wasn't wearing glasses and was wearing a gray t-shirt. He's about 180 meters tall. If someone dropped their wallet, get it back from this person. Back, JPG. Second brother Song, picking up a wallet and stuffing it into your pocket. There's actually such a person in this world. Chaos. Man in the Wind seems to be the head of the student council, Tang Yuan. His words must be true. I'll keep an eye out for the guy. King, I'll keep an eye out too. Poor man, so it's Tang Yuan. Then his words are definitely true. He's the leader of our student union. Bear, as expected of Tang Yuan, he's brave and full of a sense of justice. He exposes injustice directly when he sees it. Awesome. 1, 2, 3 Wooden figure. This guy is really embarrassing Jiangbei University. Zhu, embarrassing? This isn't just embarrassing, it's already a crime. If there was more than 2,000 yuan in the wallet, he could even be sentenced to theft. Tang Yuan, I suggest you call the police now and have them arrest him. As more and more people joined the discussion, Tang Yuan looked at everyone's insults toward Lin Fan and their flattery toward him. He felt like he was on cloud 9. He liked this feeling very much. Tang Yuan sneered in his heart, kid, you didn't want to let me cut queue, huh? Let's see how doomed you'll be this time. At the same time, Tang Yuan's mind began to work. Many internet celebrities suddenly became popular because of a certain matter. If this worked, could he also become an internet celebrity? In that case, he would not have to worry about food and clothing in the future. Thinking of this, Tang Yuan's heart began to beat faster. He opened Weibo and posted the same message online. Then he went to place an order and hired a group of internet trolls to repost and comment on it. As one of the 10 universities in the country, Jiangbei University had a certain level of popularity. After Lin Fan joined Jiangbei University, he solved many math problems and won the Fields Medal. He also invented many high-tech products such as super batteries, the earthquake prediction device, carbon-based chips, and so on. After winning 4 Nobel Prizes, Jiangbei University became even more famous. Later on, under the push of some people, the number of comments on Tang Yuan's Weibo post went from a few hundred to a few thousand. It later reached tens of thousands. This headline even climbed to the top of the trending searches. Some people berated Lin Fan, some suggested calling the police, and some even came to Jiangbei University to find the man in the gray t-shirt. Lin Fan did not care about any of this at all. At this moment, he had already arrived at the office. Most students would not be in the mood to study or read on the first and last day of school. However, Xia Bing, Xia Zhu, Hao Xiwu, Nai Zhenjiang, and the others had already buried their heads in learning. Meow. Lil White, who was on Hao Xiwu's shoulder, was the first to notice Lin Fan and let out a loud cry. Master, you're finally here. Master, I missed you so much. Master, can you give me something delicious? Lil White meowed as it came to Lin Fan's feet. It kept rubbing against him. To be honest, Lin Fan missed not petting the cat for 2 months. He bent down and rubbed it from its head to toe a few times. Then he picked up a bag of premium beef cat food and placed it on the ground. Lil White stuffed its entire head into the cat food and began to eat. It was super delicious. At this moment, Hao Jiwu felt his cat, Lil White, jump off his shoulder. He looked up and saw Lin Fan. He shouted excitedly, "Professor Lin." Then everyone raised their heads. Professor Lin. They had not seen each other for 2 months. At this moment, everyone was very excited. Firstly, it was because they missed Lin Fan. Gratitude. That was right. That was because before the summer break, all of the theses they wrote had successfully been published in top journals after Lin Fan's revision. In other words, each of them was a top-tier author. One had to know. Many university professors did not even have their works published in a single top-tier publication. This was definitely an incredible matter. They understood that it was all Lin Fan's credit. Zia Bing and Zia Zhu took out 2 bottles of energy drink and handed them to Lin Fan. Lin Fan nodded his head at them, then he took the energy drinks and drank a mouthful of each. Did you encounter any problems in the past 2 months? In fact, he was just asking casually. Usually, summer vacation was a good time for students to rest. However, Lin Fan's students were obviously not ordinary. Professor Lin, I've done some research on the nervous system, but there are still many things that I don't quite understand. Hao Jiwu was the first to speak. As he spoke, he took out a stack of draft paper. Every page of draft paper was filled with densely packed figures and characters, and there were also marks of different colors. If it were an ordinary teacher, they would probably have a headache seeing so many draft papers. However, Lin Fan did not care at all. He just looked at Hao Jiwu with a slightly different expression. Then he picked up the papers and quickly flipped through the stack. In about 2 minutes, Lin Fan had read through all the content and understood everything that was involved. You need to strengthen your neural connections and neurons. Also, there's a problem with your reaction here. I see, thank you, Professor, Hao Jiwu said. At the same time, his admiration for Lin Fan grew. He had only flipped through it a few times and already knew the problem, as expected of a professor. Then Jiang Keokwon walked over with a stack of draft paper and asked questions. Then it was Liu Qian and Nai Junjiang. Lin Fan spent about 10 minutes answering their questions. Then his gaze fell on Zia Bing and Zia Zhu. Have you encountered any questions that you can't answer? Zia Bing and Zia Zhu's pretty faces instantly blushed. They nodded lightly and said, yes. After saying that, they took out a stack of draft paper. Some people said that geniuses were a result of 99% sweat and 1% inspiration. This sentence, perhaps it was an exaggeration. However, one thing was right. Geniuses often worked harder than ordinary people. Zia Bing, Zia Zhu, Hao Jiwu, Nai Junjiang, and the others were the best proof. They came to the office early every day. Even though it was a leisurely summer vacation, they did not relax. 546 They are talking nonsense, slandering. On the first day, Hao Jiwu, Nai Junjiang, Jiang Keokwon, and the others asked questions, and Lin Fan kept answering them. As the sun set, Lin Fan returned to the coiling dragon villa after dinner. He sat on the soft sofa, sipping some spirit tea while admiring the scenery outside the window. He was extremely satisfied. Now it was the online world. As the topic of Jiangbei University thief continued to rise in popularity, more and more people joined the crusade team. Distant, taking without asking is a thief. Snowflake, how can there be such a shameless person who steals someone else's wallet? Pa. Poor man, he's actually a student of Jiangbei University. There's still a long way to go for quality education. Feng Beiabao, who's in Jiangbei University, hurry up and find him. Flowers by the Sea, Jiangbei University, when are you going to expel this student? Feng, only expulsion, that would be too easy for him, he must bear legal responsibility. Tang Yuan's Weibo followers also began to increase rapidly. From the initial 1,120 followers, it directly increased to 300,000 followers in one day. He looked at the notifications on his phone, and his entire face broke into a smile. He could already see himself becoming a super internet celebrity, driving a luxury car and wearing a luxury watch. No matter where she went, he would be greeted by countless fans screaming and asking him to take photos with them. He did the right thing by posting this. Many people on the internet asked Tang Yuan to call the police and arrest the thief. He replied in a kind tone, after all, it wasn't easy for him to get into Jiangbei University. I don't want to be too harsh, I should give others a chance. The reason why Tang Yuan replied like this was because he knew that Lin Fan did not steal the wallet. If they were to investigate and intervene, it might be disadvantageous to Tang Yuan if they found out anything. Secondly, it was because he wanted to create a persona. A kind persona was more likable. Sure enough, after he replied, his followers increased again. However, he refused to call the police, so the enthusiastic netizens could not stand it anymore. Someone still called the police in the end. Soon, the Jiangbei Investigation Department announced that they would be investigating the matter. Some enthusiastic netizens even tagged Jiangbei University, wanting to get a reply. Jiangbei University did not want to reply to such a matter and only wanted to conduct a self-examination. However, the issue was too big of a deal. Due to the pressure, they issued an announcement that night saying that they would conduct a strict investigation and that they would publicly announce the follow-up. In the male dormitory, Jiang Keiaquin had been studying the entire day. After taking a cold shower, he sat on the bed and casually scrolled through his phone for a while. When he saw the trending topic of Jiangbei University thief, he clicked on it out of curiosity. After all, he was now a student at Jiangbei University. 350 million views and 87,000 comments. Why are there so many people discussing it? Jiang Keiaquin said in surprise. Sai, I'm afraid our school is going to be completely ruined by this thief. Then Jiang Keiaquin looked down and his gaze fell on the back of the thief. He frowned and muttered, this back view and the clothes, it seems. Jiang Keiaquin pondered for a moment before opening the Take-Off group chat and sending a message. Jiang Keiaquin, have you seen the popular post on Weibo? The group chat consisted of Hao Jiwu, Jiang Keiaquin, Nai Zhenjiang, Zia Bing, Zia Zhu, Liu Kaiyanqian, Lin Fan students. Take off to everyone. As long as they could learn from Lin Fan, they would be able to take off one day. Hao Jiwu Weibo, if he had the time to look at that thing, wouldn't it be nice to game instead? Nai Zhenjiang, is there any special news on Weibo? Liu Kaiyanqian, I didn't expect there to be boys who like to use Weibo, I rarely use it. Jiang Keiaquin, no, one trending search Jiangbei University thief. Then he sent the link. Zia Bing, they're talking nonsense. Zia Zhu, they're talking nonsense. Zia Bing and Zia Zhu recognized at a glance that the man was Lin Fan. They obviously did not believe the insults online. Liu Kaiyanqian, this back view is of Professor Lin, he would never steal someone else's wallet. After Liu Kaiyanqian sent this message, the image of Lin Fan answering the difficult questions and throwing the basketball appeared in her mind. Hao Jiwu was speechless. These people were definitely slandering Professor Lin. What the F***? CK. Nai Zhenjiang said, we have to get this student named Tang Yuan to come forward and clarify things, otherwise Professor Lin will be affected. They all knew how amazing Lin Fan was. Just the bonus he received was enough to ensure he would not have to worry for a lifetime. Why would he steal someone else's wallet? How could he be a thief? Zia Bing and Zia Zhu did not continue to send messages to the Take-Off group. They hurriedly turned on the computer and started typing on the keyboard. They wanted to clear Lin Fan's name. Not long after, dense codes appeared on the computer screen. Then Tang Yuan's student status, exam results, school performance, class information, contact information, and so on appeared on the screen. Even with the contact information, Zia Bing and Zia Zhu did not directly clarify things. There was no need. Since the other party was slandering Lin Fan, he had to pay the price. Their hands continued to move quickly on the keyboard. Their roommate Zhao Nai took a sip of iced Coke and burped. She asked curiously, Zia Bing, Zia Zhu, what are you busy with? Zia Bing, Zia Zhu, and Zhao Nai had a good relationship. In the past, as long as Zhao Nai spoke, they would answer. However, today it was as if they did not hear her. Their fingers were still jumping on the keyboard. Zia Bing and Zia Zhu only wanted to clear Lin Fan's name as soon as possible and punish the slanderer. A moment later, a video appeared on the screen. It was the surveillance footage of Jiangbei University. In the morning, students were registering. The entire campus was filled with students and it was very noisy. Not long after, a tall and handsome figure appeared on the screen. It was Lin Fan. When Zia Bing and Zia Zhu saw Lin Fan, their beautiful eyes seemed to flash with light and were extremely gentle. Then a tall and thin man appeared on the screen. It was Tang Yuan. When Zia Bing and Zia Zhu saw him, their beautiful eyes turned slightly cold. Lin Fan walked in front, and the two of them did not have any contact. Lin Fan did not pick up any wallet at all. After Tang Yuan took a photo of Lin Fan, he sneered. It was over. The truth was revealed. This was a false accusation. 547 The school self-inspection announcement. The Song family. The entire Song family also began to become busy. They were expanding the market and growth line. Originally, the Song family wanted to wait for Song Jiaxin to graduate and open a random company for her to train. Then she would come to manage the entire Song herbal tea. However, as the Song family became busier and busier, the Song family changed their decision. Of course, the most important thing was that Song Jiaxin was Lin Fan's classmate. Moreover, their relationship was not ordinary. In this situation, they had to give Song Jiaxin the power she needed as soon as possible. As a result, on the first day of school, Song Jiaxin did not report to school as she was dealing with company matters. Today, she dragged her tired body back to the villa at night and took an extremely comfortable hot bath. Then Song Jiaxin sat in front of the window sill, picked up her phone and started to browse. It was only at this time of the day that she had a little entertainment time of her own. Tired and fulfilling, Song Jiaxin opened Weibo out of habit. Soon her gaze fell on the top trending topic, Jiangbei University thief. Song Jiaxin frowned. She was naturally disgusted by thieves. She did not expect such a person to appear in her school. With a hint of anger, she clicked on the topic. In the next moment, Song Jiaxin frowned even more. With just a glance, she could confirm that this person was Lin Fan. How was this possible? Song Jiaxin instantly understood that this was a false accusation. She had seen many similar things. Most of the time, even if it was proven that the person was framed, the slanderers would only receive a little criticism. Meanwhile, the victim would be deeply affected. However, the other party actually dared to frame Lin Fan. Song Jiaxin's face instantly turned cold. She opened her contact list, found Black One and dialed the number. The internet was one of the most important parts of any enterprise. It involved important information such as accounts, operations, and planning. Therefore, many large enterprises had their own hackers to stop and conquer their enemies. Hacker 1 was Song Herbal Tea's most powerful hacker. Hello, Miss Song, a slightly hoarse voice came from the phone. Song Jiaxin said, help me investigate the surveillance cameras of Jiangbei University. I want footage that's related to the thief in Jiangbei University as well as other related information. Yes, please wait a moment, the hoarse voice said. A moment later, a compressed file appeared on her computer desktop. Song Jiaxin quickly felt relieved. It turned out that Tang Yuan and Lin Fan met for the first time at the registration office and then they met for the second time at the field. That was where Tang Yuan took a photo. Then Tang Yuan first posted the message on his WeChat moments before posting it on Weibo to frame Lin Fan. He even hired fake commenters. The more Song Jiaxin read the information, the colder her expression became. How vicious HMPH. Then she dialed the number of the Public Relations Department. Help me post a video and an article. I want it to enter the top of the trending list in the shortest time possible. Got it, a solemn tone came from the phone. Director Huang of the Academic Affairs Office, Professor Wang of the School of Computer Science, Director Liu of the Security Department, and the others were all gathered together. Director Huang, the school's surveillance footage is all here. Thank you for your hard work, said Director Huang. Then he said to the bald, middle-aged man beside him, Professor Wang, I'm sorry to trouble you. It's just a small matter, said Professor Wang. After saying that, he sat in front of the computer and prepared to copy the surveillance video. At this moment, Professor Wang said, the surveillance footage seems to have been hacked. Someone has hacked in and forced me out. Director Huang frowned slightly. The location of this particular surveillance camera was not a private location. However, it was also troublesome if the hacker was someone with evil intentions. Director Liu obviously realized this and asked, when was it hacked? Today, just now, Professor Wang said. However, you don't have to be too nervous. The other party only hacked into today's surveillance cameras and only copied the footage. When Director Huang and Director Liu heard this, they both heaved a sigh of relief. If it was just today, it should not have had too much of an impact. Professor Wang did not say anything else. His hands were jumping on the keyboard. Then he quickly compared the back view of the thief from Jiangbei University with the surveillance footage. It had to be said that knowledge had an extremely magical ability. It would have taken hours to get the information. In less than 10 seconds, the front, side, and back of the man in the gray t-shirt and Tang Yuan appeared on the screen. I've already found out, said Professor Wang. Then the three of them looked at the screen. The next moment, Director Huang, Professor Wang, and Director Liu widened their eyes and shouted, What? Lin Fan. The thief Tang Yuan was talking about was Lin Fan. Nonsense, Director Huang was the first to break out of her mouth. Slander. The moral values of the world are declining day by day and the hearts of the people are no longer what they used to be. Does he think he can spout nonsense on the internet? That's simply unreasonable. How vicious, Director Liu exclaimed. According to their initial thoughts after checking the surveillance video, even if they found out that the other party did not secretly pick up a wallet, they would find him and interrogate him in detail. Now there was no need. It was completely unnecessary. Who was Lin Fan? He was a mathematician who had solved several unsolved mathematical problems. A super scholar who invented the earthquake prediction device, the carbon-based photolithographic machine, the super battery, and the human islet recovery drug. This time he even won the Fields Medal and 4 Nobel Prizes. That was right. He was enough to be called a great existence. Now someone actually said that he was a thief. How was this possible? Director Huang, I think the school must handle this matter properly. Otherwise, I'm afraid a great scholar like Professor Lin will be wronged, Professor Wang said seriously. I'll report this to the school now and deal with this matter in the strictest and swiftest way possible. I'll try my best to reduce the grievances Professor Lin has suffered, Director Huang said solemnly. That night, the Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, Director of Academic Affairs, Director of Education, and many other high-ranking officials of Jiangbei University held an emergency meeting. Generally speaking, in order to ensure the accuracy of the information, it would take at least 3 days of investigation before it was announced. However, before dawn the next day, Jiangbei University started behaving strangely. They released an investigation notice regarding the thief at Jiangbei University.